Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Non Sequitur Nerds. Tonight, we're going to need you to grab that shield because it really is yours. And it's our Better Late Than Never episode where we're recapping Falcon and Winter Soldier. Joining me is Ian, who has finally finished it.
You know what? Some of us have more free time than others. Yeah,
It's me.
and admittedly, part one of this summer's anime season was pretty baller, so I spent
Yeah.
most of my time watching anime this summer instead of watching Marvel shows. So,
I mean, I won't fault you.
yeah. So that's also untrue. He is totally faulty.
I've been giving him so much crap off the air about not watching it because I've wanted to gush to him about it, and you know, to his credit, bless his heart, he has started the first couple episodes of Loki, which wrapped up this week. Yeah,
It was either this week or last week, but yeah.
I think it was this week. Yeah.
There's a whole pantheon of Disney shows that Disney produced shows that I've been working on watching. I mean, there's Falcon, Bird Boy and Cold Dude. Then and then there's Bad Batch. If we go with the Star Wars, the Star Wars side of things.
That one I need to watch the last couple episodes I've missed.
Yeah, I'm caught up. I just need to catch this today's episode that just dropped, obviously.
Right.
Definitely good. But
I've
yeah,
liked
there's a
it so
lot of
far.
TV. There's a lot of TV and I mean, this kind of goes back to our whole content episodes that we
Right.
we just aired. If you haven't watched them yet, I highly suggest you do.
Yep.
But yeah, there's just so much content out there. Sometimes it's just hard to stay caught up with it all. Like,
Yeah.
I have to be I mean, especially with the limited time that I have to be very selective in like the stuff that I watch. So.
Right. I mean, like so far. I mean, I know we're mainly going to be talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier, but like so far, like all of the just speaking of the Marvel shows, all the Marvel shows thus far. I won't spoil anything on Loki, for the listeners and for Ian, but so far all the Marvel shows like have just been really well done. And like even off from that, Black Widow came out. Which, you know, Ian and I, if you listened to last week's episode, we actually were able to get together in person, and that was one of the things we wanted to do. Is like we want to watch it, and we decided to do the effectively pay-per-view on Disney Plus, and I do not regret spending the money on that. I thoroughly enjoyed that film, but that's something we'll talk about in the later episode. Tonight we're talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yep. Fair warning, disclaimer, all things otherwise. I think the statute of limitations on spoilers has passed at this point, but
so.
This will be a spoiler-filled episode. So, if you are haven't seen the show yet and you do plan on watching it, fair warning. Take a few seconds to pause, go watch the show, binge it. We'll be here when you come back.
Yep.
And then
we never go anywhere.
Correct. Meantime, we'll sit here and stare at each other lovingly, and probably make some kind of UA Bowl comment.
Oh. Which, speaking of which, our UA Bowl counter is currently at 25. and somebody asked me, apart from you, Ian, if I was going to go back and re-listen to every single episode we have recorded and add to our UA Bowl counter. No, I'm not. So that counter is accurate as of the time of when we started it. I will not be adding any additional UA Bowls based on prior listening for the word UA Bowl to our UA Bowl counter that you can see up here that says UA Bowl counter on it. I'm sorry, I had to. I know you can't hear me, Ian, but it makes a delightful little ding noise every time I say UA Bowl.
I just want to make sure that the UA Bowl counter is in fact accurate. So, for you listeners out there, if you would like to go back and listen to all of our references to the master of macabre cinema, Mr. UA Bowl, you are welcome to go back and listen to the prior episodes, and let us know a number so that we can update the patent pending UA Bowl counter.
Which is currently sitting at 34 UA Bowls. 35.
We could probably make an entire episode about this. Anyway,
well, we might.
We might. We very well might. So, anyway, spoiler-filled episode. Please pause or stop listening right now. Give you a few seconds to hit that button. All right. Statute of limitations has passed. We are good to go and talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Mm.
So, 6 episode miniseries, I guess we could say.
Yeah, it's
Maybe.
well, I know as of yet it's not showing any renewal for a second season, but I mean the same was true with WandaVision, and again we're in the spoiler zone here, and you have the internet, Ian. I'm sure this isn't a spoiler for you. Loki is getting a second season,
Yep.
but to my knowledge, Falcon and Winter Soldier is not. But I think a lot of that is they've kind of set up where those characters are going. I see their adventures working better in a feature film or multiple appearances in feature films versus another TV series. So I think, in my opinion, a one season, I think limited series, I think is what they're calling those ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
probably.
that definitely works better for where the characters are at by the end of the story.
Yeah,
my
I
opinion.
would. I would agree. Overall, like, so before we delve into like individual episodes, overall though, I would say that I very thoroughly enjoyed the series.
Oh,
I thought the
absolutely,
character
yes.
for only 6 episodes, they did a really good job of character development of the main two.
Mhm.
You and I have talked offline, and I have a few criticisms about the way they handled some of the other characters, but
Yep.
we can get into that a little bit later. And
Oh, yeah.
it's nothing that I would say completely ruins or damages the show to me.
Yeah.
It just felt rushed, is all. So, but the show itself does well with 6 episodes, each episode ranking anywhere from about 40 to 45 to 60 minutes.
Give or take. Yep.
Yeah, so these limited series themselves are it feels they have movie level production values.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I mean, Disney and Marvel, like, they really spared no expense on these things. I mean, like, the visual effects are on par with their films. The cinematography is on par. The scripting, the writing, and the acting, everything is on par with their feature films. But instead of getting a 2 to 3 hour film, we're getting 6. We'll call it high hour-long episodes. So I mean, you're getting 2 to 3 movies worth of content in it. Which gives, I mean, definitely with anything that's longer format like that, that gives you a lot more time for character development, story. They can flesh stuff out a lot more. And like, to Disney and Marvel's credit, they've done a phenomenal job thus far, in my opinion, with these shows, of using, for the most part, all that extra time to their advantage.
Yep, I would agree with that. They did a very good job. They can take the time to do character development that needs to be done. They can take the time to do storytelling that needs to be done.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And Falcon and Winter Soldier is interesting to me because I feel like both of the main characters have a lot of potential that they haven't explored very much.
Yeah, and like the
in
show,
the overarching MCU.
Yeah, I mean, but the show did a good job of setting up, kind of like I had said prior, setting up these characters to where they need to be to start. There was a lot of character growth, but this is going to start them down a path of even further character growth.
Yeah,
I mean, because for both of them, I mean, since we're going to start delving into the show here, I mean, for Sam, last most people saw him was at the end of Endgame, where he's handed that shield. And he's like, it feels like it's someone else's, which is kind of it could almost be the tagline for that show, is, Cap's literally passing the mantle on to him. But the first episode opens up with Sam donating it to the Smithsonian, I believe, for their Captain America exhibit. So, like, the first thing he does after getting the shield is gives it away.
Yeah, and also, so we'll start delving into the episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 1 also did see Don Cheadle return as Rhodey for a guest appearance,
which is nice. It was kind of off topic here. He plays the villain in the new Space Jam, which, I mean, we're not going to talk about tonight. But it was weird for me watching that movie, not going, where's his armor? Because I'm so used to seeing Don Cheadle as Rhodey that it was weird for me to see him as anything else at this point.
Right.
But anyway.
Where's his robot leg?
Where's he? Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan, you got magic legs.
Yeah, so it's nice, like, apart from, the two titular characters, it's nice seeing that these shows are getting that treatment to show that yes, they are part of a larger universe. Now with WandaVision, yeah, I mean there were some cameos in that, but I mean the way that show was structured, it kind of lent itself to almost feel like a separate thing, and then
I think it was really supposed to be, because I mean, admittedly, Scarlet Witch, Wanda, has been kind of a side character in the MCU.
Yeah, sadly, I mean that's a character, especially in the comics, that has a lot of really good stories that can be told with her character.
Yeah. Which we could probably get into. You know, we could probably do a more another comic book episode coming up soonish. And for those of you wondering, do we plan out our episodes in advance? Absolutely not. We just kind of figured this stuff out.
Here's some little behind the scenes stuff for you. It's Thursday. We record, we record on Friday. It's Thursday night. What are we going to talk about? And, well, I mean, like it works out for us because that topic is fresh in our mind. Then instead of planning it, a month in advance and going, oh crap, yeah, I'd forgotten that we were going to do that this week. Now it's okay, yeah, we'll talk about that, and it works out. It works out. But anyway.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. So
yes.
The first episode, obviously, we talked about. It sees the return of Sam and Bucky. Sam obviously donates the shield.
Mm-hmm.
There's some other stuff going on. Sam and Bucky were both snapped.
Yep.
And so now they're back, and now they're kind of finding themselves in this world,
mm-hmm.
In the new world. And they're working. Sam kind of works as almost like a free agent for the government. He does, odd jobs and things like that.
Well, I mean, because
I say odd jobs, but it's not like he's running the corner store to pick up coffee for the,
right.
for the Senate. But like he's an operative, really.
Well, I mean, he still holds military rank.
Yeah.
He's just, I believe in the Winter Soldier film. Isn't he? Talking would be great if I could do it today. He actually helps counsel like other soldiers and whatnot through like PTSD. He's a counselor.
He's a counselor because that actually does come up later in the show.
Yes,
itself.
yes, it does.
So anyway,
speaking of counseling, in episode 1, we see that Bucky is actually as part of his plea deal for the whole Sokovia Accords thing, is actually mandated to see a therapist regularly. So it's interesting to see this character who, I mean, like, he went through the first part of his life, as Bucky Barnes, happy-go-lucky, always there for his pal Steve, joined the military, the nice boy, neighbor boy next door that will help your grandma bake cookies, to becoming the Winter Soldier and being brainwashed into doing
ruthless international assassin.
Yeah, I mean, he murdered the Starks. I mean, he did all kinds of horrible things, and he still remembers all that now that he's been, because of what happened to Wakanda, he's deconditioned from the programming and brainwashing, but he still remembers everything he did. So going back to being Bucky again, but still having all the memories of the stuff he did as Winter Soldier, really is weighing on him pretty heavy. And I mean, the show does a good job of showing that he's not the same Bucky that he once was.
It's very obvious that he has major PTSD, and he's just trying to figure out how to deal with it. Obviously, the court mandated therapy. He's bitter about it,
but he knows it's something he has to do.
But he's kind of reluctant to do it. The interplay with him and his therapist is rather amusing, because she is a military therapist and she takes no crap from anyone.
Yep,
including the Winter Soldier, which actually isn't it White Wolf now technically?
Yes, White Wolf. Well, and they make a joke about that.
Correct.
Yep.
It's like a throwaway line that nobody that you don't even notice, and I think it's in episode 2 actually.
I think so.
Anyway, so yes, Sam gives away the shield. Bucky's in therapy. Sam's trying to figure out like how to survive in this world, and he's connecting with his sister again, who her and her family weren't snapped.
Yep, and it's interesting to see the dynamic of his family that you really prior to the show had no knowledge that they even really existed, to seeing how they interact. And yeah, like you said, they weren't snapped, but he was. And so his sister has effectively been trying to keep their parents' fishing business that was left to them afloat and profitable. But I mean, there's so many different things. Like the boat is
The boat needs
the boat
repair.
the boat needs completely
painting.
refurbished. I mean,
Right.
it needs redone from bottom up. But
Right. So there's this subplot there that
which does play out for some
Sam
good scenes.
It does play out for some good scenes. So there's a subplot there that Sam is obviously working to try to, get through this and really, um, help out his family now that he's back, and he's got a little pull with the government.
Yeah.
But
Well, there was the interesting scene in there where Sam's like, well, let's go to the bank, get money, and his sister's like, well, I've tried countless times, and he's like, well, you've got an Avenger now. And it's interesting, like they go to that scene and the teller or the loan officer there is just gushing over the fact that you're the Falcon. Oh my gosh, you're the Falcon. You've also had no income over the last 5 years. And I know a lot of people really like that because that's one of the things in even in comic books is like, okay, Tony Stark and Batman. We obviously know where they get their money from. Clark Kent, he has a day job. Sam is effectively living off of his military paychecks, but he hasn't even had that over the last 5 years because of the snap. He was quote unquote dead. So it's interesting to see. Marvel has done a really good job with all their products. Of yes, obviously it is a comic book film, but they seem to try to tie all of them into a little bit of a sense of realism. And I mean, you wouldn't think about Bruce Banner going down to the bank for a loan, and but here they are portraying that to show you, to kind of immerse you and draw you in. I mean, it was literally a 2-minute scene, but it did a good job of making them feel like real characters.
2 to 5 minutes scene. I will say though that there is one aspect of that kind of bugs me. Like they're all Avengers, like they're all friends. I realize that Tony has passed, but you think he could call up Piper and be like, "Hey, Pepper? You're a multi-billion. Yeah, Pepper, well, sorry. You're a multi-billionaire. Could you float me at like $50K to make sure that my family's business doesn't go over?" Because I feel like Pepper would probably be like, "Yeah, sure." Here you
go. See, like kind of going tangentially off that, you
want to turn your boat into a Quinjet? We'll turn your boat into a Quinjet.
Well, yeah. I mean, or you think that Tony would have in like his will or whatnot, like, all right, well, hey, here's an Avengers fund that they can draw out of for emergencies or personal things like that, and it's it's a finite amount of money, but it's money set aside for them, because I mean he pretty much financed. I mean he financed Avengers Tower, all of the armors he built, a lot of the tech that they use. I mean Rhodey literally relies on Tony's wallet.
Right.
I mean,
and actually, it was only. Tony financed Stark Tower, but it became Avengers. Well, it actually didn't even really become the Avengers Tower because they then built the complex across the bay. But it was originally just Stark Tower. So
right, true.
Technically not Avengers related.
Well, I mean, and I think Tony bankrolled the complex too.
He did. So. Well, it was also, I believe it was a former Stark Tech facility that he then had refitted as the Avengers complex.
It was either Stark Tech or an unused shield facility. I don't remember. It was one of the two. But anyway.
Yeah, one of them.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the bank scene is interesting because it kind of further drives home that point that the snap happened, people were gone for years, and that scene does a good job of setting up the overall conflict in the show. Well, the major conflict. Go ahead.
What's really good about that, though, is it sets up the conflict without letting you know it's setting up the conflict.
Yeah, like when I first watched that show, I didn't even think about that. Once the show was over, I started kind of thinking about the show again. Yeah, that scene sets up what why the bad guys are doing what they're doing without showing you the bad guys, by showing you what one of the good guys is going through. And the show is one of my other friends watched it, and I asked their thoughts on it. And they said, a lot of the characters remind me of, or the theme of the show reminds me a lot of Boondock Saints, where it's people doing bad things for, in their eyes, morally justified reasons. And it's one of those, we'll get into the quote-unquote bad guys a bit more, but it really does make you think, they're doing some pretty bad things, but in their eyes, it's for the greater good. Which, I mean, there's countless villains who do that, but this show really kind of drives that home. But
Right.
moving on, so we see how the characters are going about their day-to-day lives, and Sam is giving away the shield and whatnot. Then, I mean, the first episode is just a lot of building up, what the characters are doing and kind of reintroducing the crowd to them.
Right, and we're also introduced to the quote unquote villains of this series, who are the Flag Smashers.
Mm-hmm.
They are a group of people that want to, I wouldn't say overthrow, but they are in opposition to the world government, which it's like the Global Repatriation Council, I think,
Yeah.
the GPC or something like that. Basically, it's a council of governments that have come together in order to handle all the people that were blipped away, that that were blipped away and then were returned at the end of Endgame.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's the Flag Smashers are kind of in opposition of them.
Well, and mainly because they were people that weren't part of the blip or the snap, or depending on what movie or show you're watching it, they call it different things. But they were people.
I think officially it's called the blip.
Yeah. That seems to be the primary one that's used. But the Flag Smashers are people that were not taken away in the blip, and effectively moved to various places, found new housing, got new jobs, things like that. But now that everybody's back, they're being shuffled out of the homes that they've claimed and started living in. They're being pushed out of the jobs that they had got because the original person is there. All these things, they're effectively being treated as less than lower class citizens.
Right.
And in their eyes, that's not right. We've built these new lives over the last 5 years. How are we to know that all these other people were coming back? Everybody thought that they were gone forever. Everybody thought they were dead or whatever have you.
Right.
So that kind of sets up the conflict there.
Yep. And of course, then there's the secondary conflict of the series, which is at the end of the episode, where we're introduced to Captain America.
Yep.
And what I mean
is... The new Captain America.
Yes, correct. What I mean is there is now a new Captain America, a gentleman by the name of John Walker, who's a former military, I think he was a Marine, highly decorated Marine. He's apparently been training on the side with the shield.
Yep. Which, by the way, that shield didn't stay in the Smithsonian.
Correct. It was given to Walker, and he is now the new Captain America because, according to the U.S. government, we need a figurehead.
Yep.
And this sets up additional conflict in the series. Sam's not happy about it.
Yep.
Bucky is pissed.
Oh, Bucky is livid about it.
Bucky is pissed both at the government and at Sam for giving up the shield.
Yep.
And that really sets up how they even join forces is basically in the next episode, episode 2. Sam is going out on an operation to try to find the Flag Smashers, and Bucky catches them at the airport somehow because it's a military base.
I mean, technically, I think Bucky still holds some military rank. I think. I mean, because I don't think he was because he was listed as MIA, because he or either MIA or KIA.
Well, I mean, he was I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Bucky catches up with Sam and basically follows him on this operation.
Yep.
Where they're basically hunting for the Flag Smashers. They find a cell of the Flag Smashers who are taking medical supplies from a GRC depot. This is where the White Wolf line comes in. The throwaway line.
It's something because Bucky's sneaking around. Yeah.
Yeah. Bucky's sneaking around, and Sam makes some kind of pithy comment about him, being the Winter Soldier, and Bucky goes, "Well, actually, it's White Wolf now." And Sam's like, "Wait, what?"
Or no. He says you spend a little bit of time in Wakanda, and suddenly you're the White Panther, and he goes, "Actually, it's White Wolf."
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, they engage. They follow the Flag Smashers. They wind up engaging with them, and then that's where we discover that the Flag Smashers actually have super strength.
Yep. Which is
super...
kind of a big WTF moment. I'm like, wow, they're really throwing Sam and Bucky around.
Right. So they are. I mean, they have super strength. And then Captain America and his partner, who the character's name is Lamar, but he is known as Battlestar. I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, Battlestar, not Galactica. Um,
Different Battlestar.
he's known as he's known as Battlestar. They engage with the Flag Smashers as well and try to help out, and ultimately the Flag Smashers get away, and
Yep.
there's again another conflict between um, New Cap and Sam and Bucky because they're not interested in working with him. And for his part, Walker seems like he's trying to
Yeah.
engage with them, like
Mhm.
he's trying to work with them, but he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He's the
Yeah.
new Captain America, and he's trying to prove himself out there, and he's
Yep.
not superhuman. He
No,
is
he's just a
normal.
highly trained soldier, but he has no super strength, no super endurance,
Mhm.
nothing. He's just a dude who worked out and tried really hard.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so after that conflict, then there's some other things that happen, and Bucky takes Sam to go meet another person, a gentleman by the name of Isaiah Bradley,
Mhm.
who we come to find out is actually a super soldier.
Yep, and
Um,
that is canon to the comics as well.
right.
Which is kind
Uh,
of like when I heard that name drop of Isaiah Bradley, I'm like, oh, okay. I wonder if they're just using that character name as a fun little nod. But no, he's flat out a super soldier,
yep.
and
So the
it
whole
gets
shtick being
pretty dark when he kind of explains his backstory.
Yeah, the whole shtick being that America wanted another super soldier. They were experimenting with serums. They tried it out on a group of soldiers, and Isaiah was one of them. And he survived.
Yeah, a lot of them
But
did not.
right, but then the American government threw him in prison and basically experimented on him for 30 years
Yep.
to try to recreate the serum. But
Mhm.
ultimately, he got out, which they explain in a later episode
Yep.
of how he got out of prison. But anyway, so Isaiah is obviously very bitter and doesn't really want anything to do with him. So
Yep.
ultimately, it leads nowhere. But this does set up the fact that there are super soldiers in this universe,
Yep.
more super soldiers in this universe,
Mhm.
albeit very few. Um, and so what we find out is that these flag smashers have somehow gotten a hold of another super soldier serum, which explains their super strength.
Yep. Well, they do. It's I kind of like the fact that they make a quick throwaway line to this, that it's a new generation of super soldier serum that gives you all the abilities of Captain America without the bulked up look. So it can literally be anybody. You're not looking for a big jack dude in a crowd. It could be that little tiny girl over there, you know,
Right.
who can throw
I
you
think they
around as well
actually
as
meant
Captain America.
I think they make that mention of that line in the next episode, in
Okay.
episode 3. But yeah, you have a point. The new super soldier serum doesn't. Basically, I think if you want to look at it in scientific terms, it increases your muscle density without increasing your mass.
That's the most accurate way to put it. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I think actually a good example of that in and of itself is Bucky. Like
Yeah.
Bucky is not. He is not like he's muscled, but he's
Yeah.
not like Steve Rogers jacked.
Yeah.
But Bucky was also injected with form of super soldier serum that was part of his conditioning as the Winter Soldier. So
Yep.
super strength and super abilities besides the cybernetic arm. Um, so anyway, so as the episode comes to a close, Sam and Bucky are out of leads, and Bucky really makes the decision that he's going to go and see Zemo in prison.
Which I mean, anybody that saw the previews for the show knew it was coming, but it was still like, I can't believe Bucky's doing this. Bucky of all people, you know.
Yeah. And the reason they're going for Zemo is because Zemo knows all things um, Hydra related. Like he has all the information about Hydra. He knew about the Winter Soldier program. He had knew all of Bucky's programming and stuff like that. He knew about super soldiers, and the other thing that they're banking on in their engagement with Zemo is that he hates the concept of super soldiers.
Yeah.
It is completely opposite of his ideals. So they're hoping that they can use that to their advantage to get Zemo to talk. So, yeah. So then, then the next episode really kind of takes off from there. We've gotten
Yeah.
a lot of the exposition out of the way, and now we're really moving into the action component of it.
Oh yeah.
The episode really opens, if I remember correctly, with Zemo escaping prison with some help from Bucky.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which is a really cool scene, all in all.
Yeah, yeah, and Sam also doesn't realize that it's happened because what you're actually seeing is Bucky is telling Sam of the possible ways that Zemo could get out of prison.
Yep.
While they are showing Zemo getting out of prison.
Yep. And how
and
he
then
did
by
it.
Right, and then by the time that Sam realizes, or Sam asks, what did you do? Then Zemo walks around the corner.
He's literally right
already,
behind.
yeah, he's literally right behind him. So it's it's one of those things where it's the classic ask forgiveness rather than permission type thing. And Bucky and again he was an assassin, like whatever it takes to get the job done kind of guy. He wasn't exactly. He hasn't been following rules for the last 80 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So Zemo, Helmut Zemo, Baron Zemo, is plays a pretty central character in the show, and I will say this. I will say this, hands down, Zemo is my favorite character in that show. Like, he is engaging, he's funny, there's a ruthlessness to him, but he's not overtly evil.
Yeah. Well, it's honestly, I think he had better character portrayal in this than he did in the Winter Soldier film.
Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah, it was Winter Soldier where he was in. Right?
Or was it... No, it was Civil War.
Civil War.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I think that he's a much better. It's still the same actor and everything, but I like his portrayal a lot more in this than I did in Civil War. Yeah, well, it was Civil War. Yep.
Yeah, because that was the whole reason behind the Civil War was because Cap versus.
That's right.
It was about Bucky. Tony wanted to basically murder him, and Cap said no, he's not like that. And
right.
And it was Zemo pulling the strings in the background.
That's right. But yeah, I'll agree. Zemo was definitely a highlight of this series for me.
Yep.
Hello, kitty. Just walked right in front of your camera.
Every time. Anyway, yeah, no, Zemo's fantastic. He's such a nuanced character. Like, again, he's funny, he's engaging, he's got this ruthlessness to him, but he's charming in his ruthlessness.
Yeah.
Like you don't hate him.
Yeah.
There's something about him that you don't hate him.
Right.
Which is basically the opposite of John Walker in that, like, he's a tryhard and you just hate him.
Yeah.
I did not like John Walker. Like, he's just, there's nothing redeemable about him. He's trying.
Like the first two episodes.
Just awful.
The first two, like I did a complete 180. Is the first two episodes? I'm like, okay, I know he's not Steve, but he was given the job. He's trying. And then by like episode 3 and beyond, I'm like, I hate this guy. I hate him. I really hate this guy. But that's kind of what they were going for. Is they wanted you. It was a weird feeling watching a show and going, I hate Captain America now.
Yeah.
But Marvel did a great job of getting me to think that way.
Yeah, I will completely agree. So, yeah, I mean they're really trying like different things, and in this episode they go globetrotting with Zemo to try to find the Flag Smashers, and they wind up in Madripoor.
Yep.
Which is kind of this lawless city in Africa.
Yep.
I think it's off the coast of Africa.
Well, and it's kind of going off of WandaVision. Everybody was going, oh, it's Mephisto. Oh, it's Mephisto. We're going to see Mephisto. And then in Falcon and Winter Soldier, everybody's like, oh, Madripoor. We're going to see Wolverine. We're going to see some mutants there. And it's like, guys, just calm it down. If it happens, it happens. We didn't get what we all were thinking the first time. We're probably not going to get it the second time here.
Right.
But no, yeah, Madripoor in the comics, like Wolverine like that's kind of his getaway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, he's the character. Like, to me, when I think Madripoor, Wolverine is the first character that I think of. And, you know, spoiler alert, you know, happy news for all you Marvel guys. Just kidding, there was no Wolverine cameo. I think Hugh Jackman was busy.
Probably.
Which,
although Daniel Radcliffe, I hear, is available right now.
yeah, well, you saw the thing that Hugh Jackman randomly on, like, I think it was his Instagram, put up a picture of this art of Wolverine with his claws out, and all you see is, like, his forearm, you know, up to the fist with the claws, and, like, the internet went, why is Hugh Jackman posting this stuff? I don't know, maybe because he played the character forever, and he just likes that character. I mean, he has said countless times that, you know, look, I'm done with Logan. I'm older at this point. Like, I mean, even before the movie Logan, I think he said several times, you know, it's hard to play a mutant who's damn near ageless when I myself age like a normal human being.
Yeah.
Or you know, paraphrasing, of course, but no, yeah, they end up in Madripoor, and they're looking for that scientist who apparently created this new super soldier serum.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they're looking for that. I mean, they're looking for leads, really. Yeah. So, you know, they check out a few different places for these leads, and ultimately wind up running into Sharon Carter.
Yeah.
Who really hasn't been around since Civil War.
Yeah.
Because she stole Cap Shield and was basically branded a traitor, and she's been on the run. You know, she's been exiled on the run internationally. Yeah. So,
and Madripoor is one of the few places that she can hide out in the open, because, like Ian said, it is a lawless place.
And Madripoor has no extradition laws. So.
Yep. So it's a good place for her to hide. Not the best, but a good place.
Yeah, and you come to find out that, you know, Sharon has created herself a business by amassing and selling art.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, the interplay. But she winds up helping Sam and Bucky by, you know, Sam promising that he will get her pardoned, basically. Yep. So they wind up fighting the lab. The lab is run by a guy named Nagel, who used to work for the U.S. government, and he actually was creating the super soldier serum for the government, but he got blipped.
Yeah.
And so when he came back, all of his research was gone because he didn't finish it. So, like, they just abandoned the project, and he was dead set on doing it. So he went to Madripoor and was being funded by a guy called the Power Broker, who wanted to create basically a super soldier army. And he created the serum, but then you find out that the Flag Smashers stole the serum from him, which is why, you know, it's actually, we haven't mentioned it before, the Power Broker is after the Flag Smashers.
Yep.
To try to get the serum because they've only used 8 of 20 vials.
Yep.
So anyway,
so I mean, at this point in the series, we're seeing all these different, you know, people and factions and whatnot are all intertwined somehow,
right?
Which is kind of neat to see the show, you know, building upon stuff that it built upon, you know, it's a Marvel layer cake, if you will. And that's a horrible analogy, but that was one of my favorite parts of the show, was seeing everything getting, you know, stacked on top of each other and built over, but in a very cohesive and easy to follow way.
I want cake.
Right.
Yeah, but one of the things that they did really well is they didn't overcomplicate things. Like,
there are these
multiple factions, but they're not like it's not difficult to know who's where.
Yeah.
And really, like, the only character that you're not sure about is Zemo.
Yeah.
Like, you're really not sure where he lies in all of this. Obviously, he's been in prison. Like, he's not associated with the Power Broker. He's not associated with the Flag Smashers because, again, they represent the anathema to his ideology.
Now, Zemo was aware of the Power Broker at that point, though, right?
Yes, he knew.
Okay, because when they go into that bar.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, because when they go into the bar,
he might have.
He's
Yeah.
aware of the power broker is a thing.
Yeah, I mean they might explore that, and we'll cover that in a little bit. They might
Yeah,
explore that later in
I hadn't
another
thought about
series.
that till now, actually. Well, we'll get into why that's raising an eyebrow from me here
Yeah,
later,
I
but
know. Yeah, I raised the eyebrow too.
yeah,
Anyway, so they get to Nagel's lab. Things happen. Zemo shoots Nagel,
yeah, that
which
was a
pisses
pretty.
off. Yeah, pisses off Bucky and Sam.
Yep.
And then there's a bunch of bounty hunters that are going after them because the power broker is basically offering a bounty for them, for Sam and Bucky, and they wind up escaping with the help of Sharon and Zemo.
Yep.
Who continues to prove himself useful. And
Now,
he dons the Zemo mask.
yes. Yep. Now, one
Yes.
of this episode had also one of my favorite throwback jokes. When they get into the car, the car to kind of make their escape, Sam is in the back seat and he looks at Bucky and says, "Hey, can you move the seat up?" And Bucky, no, which is a throwback to Civil War. When Sam's in the front seat, Bucky's in the back, and Bucky says, "Hey, can you move the seat up a bit?" And like you see Bucky say no, and you can clearly see the smirk on his face. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he did.
That's something that Marvel is really fantastic at doing, in tying together these little nuggets and pieces that make it a huge cohesive universe. It's fantastic. Like, these jokes, they play the long game with some of these things.
Oh yeah, they do.
It's kind of like I harken back to the show Community, which I admittedly haven't watched that much, but I've seen enough clips and things about it. They spent like 2 seasons setting up a Beetlejuice joke that lasted all of 10 seconds. Yes. So they said in a few episodes they said Beetlejuice, and they just said it once. And then in an episode in season 3, someone said, or I feel like season 2 or later season, someone says Beetlejuice, and the moment they say it, a guy dressed as Beetlejuice walks by a window in the background, and that's it. Like that was it. It was a 5-second joke that was that took 2 seasons to set up.
Because they said Beetlejuice a total of 3 times.
Correct.
That's awesome, actually. I appreciate the crap out of that.
Yes, and that is intelligent writing to me, folks. Like, that is intelligent humor. Like, that is playing the long game. Like, that is setting up something so far in advance. And some of the other examples that I think about is Futurama.
Futurama, yeah, they were really good about that.
Basically had all of its storyline thought out and interplayed and everything else. Like, the stuff with Nibbler and Fry getting frozen and all that stuff. And if you go back and watch the first episode, you're like, holy crap, they didn't retcon this. This is actually the way it was.
Yep.
So that is playing the long game to me, which I find very fascinating. Anyway,
yep.
Back to Bird Boy. So they escape Nagel's lab, and then they go on the run again, and they head out to Latvia, where they have a lead on the Flag Smashers. And at the end of the episode, basically Bucky walks away and meets with one of the Wakandans who's following them. Io is her name. She's a member of the Dora Milaje, which are basically like the
badasses.
Right, the Wakandan. I almost want to say secret. I don't want to say secret police.
Well, they're the royal guards / like hand of the Panther kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Right. So anyway, what it leads into in the next episode is basically that the Wakandans are still pissed that Zemo killed T'Chaka.
Yep.
And so they want him.
Yeah.
And Bucky basically negotiates.
You did what, Bucky? I'm sorry. You let who out of jail?
Right. So Bucky basically negotiates to have like 8 hours before they come for Zemo. But yeah, so the next episode sees some more development of Zemo, and they confront the Flag Smashers again, where we haven't really mentioned her name, but Carly, I believe was her name, is the leader of the Flag Smashers. Very unassuming British redhead girl.
Yeah.
Someone you wouldn't expect. which was part of the whole, the whole thing with like
Yeah.
the super soldier serum doesn't change you.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you different,
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. But yeah, so this is kind of where Sam um, really, tries, uh, to show his, uh, how his ideology and things like that by, he tries talking with Carly.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens later in the episode, but,
Yep.
he tries talking with Carly and, using that counseling experience that he has in order to get through to her. It ultimately doesn't work because they're interrupted by Walker.
Yeah.
Douchebag.
Who, like, effectively, like, to set up that scene, they find out where Carly is. She's at a funeral for, effectively, the woman that kind of raised her. And they're having a wake for her and whatnot. And Sam's like, look, this isn't the time to run in guns a-blazing. One, that's disrespectful, but two, I can talk her down. And to Sam's credit, like, honestly, I firmly believe that had he not been interrupted by Walker, who, the only reason Walker shows up is because he's impatient. They said, all right, Sam, you've got this many minutes, and Walker effectively barges his way in. Had that not happened, I think Sam could have talked her down, and the series would have only been 4 episodes long.
Right.
But, hey, yeah, conflict. We got to keep it going to get the story going.
Right, exactly. But one of the things that happened out earlier in the episode is there's an engagement with the Flag Smashers, and they have the vials of serum with them, and Zemo actually winds up cornering Carly, and basically she drops the serum, and he winds up destroying most of it. All but one vial before Walker comes in and knocks him out with the shield. And Carly gets away, but then you see Walker pocket one of the vials, which you pretty much know where this is going.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know where this is going.
You know where it's going. He's under, I understand why he did it. He's under a lot of pressure. He's he's trying to fill the shoes of Steve Rogers, and he's got this whole ideology that he has to try to represent and all this other stuff. Yep. But there's a funny exchange because at one point in the episode, I think Sam asks Bucky, "Would you ever take the serum?" And Bucky, Bucky asks Sam. Bucky asks Sam, "Would you ever take the serum?" And Sam, without missing a beat, immediately says no.
Yeah.
I would not do it. And then they, either at the same time or a little bit later, there's another scene where Battlestar Lamar is talking to Walker, and asks him, if you had the opportunity, would you take the serum? And Walker, without missing a beat, says yes.
Yeah. Well, there's a little bit more where there's that whole talking about what makes a soldier, and like it does a fantastic job of setting up just how different Sam and Walker are as soldiers.
Yeah.
It really shows that their big difference in ideology.
Yeah, and I think Walker even mentions something about like having power, like having power and then using it for the good or something like that.
Yeah.
Like so, that's where he doesn't see an issue with taking the serum so long as you use it for good. It's one of those things where it's like his ideology is also in conflict with the Flag Smashers. Like they both want or have power, they're just using it for the wrong reasons, type thing.
Right.
So later on, Carly winds up getting a hold of Sam's sister, Sarah, and makes a threat to her to try to get Sam to meet with her alone, basically to try to ambush him and whatnot. And Sam goes, but Bucky goes too, and then they wind up getting again into an engagement because Walker shows up. And Walker and Lamar, or Battlestar, also get engage in the fight. Long story short, you find out that Walker has taken the serum because he bends a rifle in half.
Yeah.
But they don't. Obviously, it's in the middle of combat, so they don't really like acknowledge it that much. Other than Sam looking at him, going, "What did you do?" and then they run off to to continue fight, or Walker runs off to continue fighting. But anyway, throughout the course of the battle, Battlestar Lamar winds up getting killed by Carly.
Yeah.
She basically gives him a super soldier punch to the chest, launching him into a pillar. And if it didn't cave in his rib cage and stop his heart, then the smacking into the pillar probably did, and likely snapped his spine.
Yeah, I'd say the spinal severing probably did it too.
Right. So, of course, Walker gets super pissed, chases them down, winds up cornering one of the flag smashers in the streets, and actually kills him, like, in a very brutal way.
Well, it's if you remember during Civil War, that scene where Cap takes a shield and puts it right into Iron Man's chest, they pretty much mirror that scene, except this guy, the guy he hits with the shield, did not have a suit of super dense, highly protective armor. So you can imagine how that went.
Right. So again, understanding, this new super soldier serum, you're not like jacked out of your mind. Like you just basically have like super strength, like super abilities, maybe super healing. I can't remember.
I don't remember.
But when somebody basically bifurcates you with a vibranium shield, like you don't get up
from that.
Yeah. So
well, and anyway, like, one thing about that scene is he's not doing this like in a an alley behind a building. No, he's doing this in the middle of like a town square. So there's people seeing this, there's people recording it, there's people live streaming it. So like the whole world just saw Captain America sever a dude, in twain. Or is that the right usage of that word?
Yeah, in twain. Yeah,
in twain. With his shield. So I mean, that doesn't look too good on New Cap's part.
Yeah, so it's a pretty brutal scene, and that's actually how the episode ends. Is with Walker making that transition.
Yep.
And again, Walker. The way they develop the character is so great because they portray him as being under a lot of stress and whatnot, but they don't make him likable in any way. It's like, yeah, I get it. You have a big shoes to fill, but you're still a dick.
Yeah, I mean,
like, you don't feel sorry for him. Like, you feel sorry for Lamar. Like, it wasn't his fault. But, like, you have no sympathy for Walker.
Yeah.
Like, he's awful.
He really is. I mean, he was completely and totally awful.
Yeah. And Zemo remains being awesome. So, anyway, I can't remember. Oh yeah, the Dora Milaje also come for Zemo in the episode, and he winds up actually escaping due to because again, what's his name, Walker shows up, and they kind of engage in a fight with the Dora Milaje.
Which that was an awesome fight scene to begin with, because like it starts off like Walker shows up and he's like, "All right, ladies, you guys just need to stand aside. I'm Captain America, blah blah blah," and the Dora Milaje just like, nah, son, let us show you how it's done, and they just completely outclass him as fighters. I mean, there is no competition there whatsoever.
Yep.
But one of my favorite scenes in that is Sam and Bucky end up getting in the fight too. So like everybody's occupied with this fight, and that's when Zemo escapes. But they're fighting Bucky, and they hit something on his mechanical arm, and the arm just falls off. And Bucky just looks down with that look on his face of, I didn't know it could do that.
Yeah. And then Sam even asked him, like, did you know they could do that?
No.
No.
Yep.
And again, Bucky's a formidable fighter without the arm. Like, because again, he has a form of super soldier serum in him. But obviously when your cybernetic arm gets removed and you're kind of now at a handicap.
I mean,
so
need a hand.
Right, exactly.
I'm glad they didn't make that need a hand joke. That would have been a little too obvious.
Yeah, that would have been obvious. So anyway, yeah. So ultimately, Zemo escapes, and then that was earlier in the episode. We kind of skipped around a little bit, so sorry if you're trying to use this as a guide to the episode.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, the next episode, we see Walker. I refuse to call him Captain America, so I'm just going to refer to him as Walker.
Yeah.
We see Walker running, walk, run.
That was horrible.
Yeah, we see Walker being a runner, away from and like hiding out somewhere, and basically Sam and Bucky find him and they engage him and basically say like, you don't deserve that shield.
Yeah.
So they engage into a fight, ultimately take the shield. Bucky breaks his arm in the process, which was one of those things where it happened and I went, "Ugh."
Yeah.
It's just like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Limbs going in directions they shouldn't just gives me the, like, I don't know, it makes my skin crawl. You see like a leg hanging in, like, so in a movie or something, like a leg going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh,
that's. There's a term for that, and I can't remember it off the top of my head of the feeling you get when you see bodies in shapes they shouldn't be.
Yeah. Anyway, so they take the shield, and Bucky goes off to find Zemo, and finds him. He's at the memorial for Sokovia Memorial. Sorry, I don't know what just happened, but I think one of my cats just, like, I don't know, exploded, I guess.
I mean, they're cats. They're known to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just turned around and he's just kind of like poking around the green screen, behind the green screen, and looking fat and not innocent. Anyway, so yeah, Bucky confronts Zemo, and you kind of have a character building moment here for Bucky because he has every reason and right to kill Zemo.
Yeah.
And actually points a gun at him and pulls the trigger. But it's not loaded.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Bucky knew the gun wasn't loaded.
Yep.
But then he hands over Zemo to the Dora Milaje, who say they're going to take him to the raft, which, if you guys don't remember what the raft is, that's the prison, like the super ultra max superhero prison, supervillain prison that is out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
Really, and that was
really hard to get off of that unless you're Captain America.
Right. Because again, that was where Cap's faction, after Civil War, the folks that were captured were sent.
Yep.
And then he breaks them out.
Yep.
So anyway, so that happens. Zemo gets taken away, and then we see Walker basically on trial.
Yeah. Being court-martialed, effectively.
He was this close to a court-martial.
Yeah.
Basically, he is an other than honorable discharge.
Yeah.
Which basically means it's not court-martialed. He's not discharged, but he gets no benefits.
Yeah.
So he gets no government pension. He gets no government assistance or anything like that. Like, basically, his military service means nothing.
Yep. And
then obviously
stripped of the title of Captain America. Correct. Yep.
So that obviously really sticks in his craw because he feels like he feels like he has done everything that he possibly can.
Yep.
But so yeah, and from here, we kind of lose track of the Flag Smashers. Like they're, they confronted them, they escaped, they lost track of them. So, Sam goes back to be with his family in Louisiana.
Yep.
In Delacroix, Louisiana.
I've never been.
I've been to Louisiana. I've been to New Orleans. New Orleans is really nice. I would say go to Bourbon Street once.
Yeah.
Not during Mardi Gras, because it's kind of nasty.
Right. Well, that'd be one of those places that it'd be fun to go to just for the experience. Like, not Mardi Gras, because I think that's a little beyond me. But just going down to Bourbon Street. Well, it's like going to the old Vegas Strip if you're in Vegas. Yeah. That's definitely the weird part of town now. At least it was the last I was there. But it's good for the experience just to see those places. But anyway, so Sam goes back to his family. Yeah.
So Sam goes back to his family, and like really, he's I think he's basically, he even says that, like, they were benched. Like,
Yeah.
they're not allowed to go looking for the Flag Smashers or on any more missions or things like that. So, um, he's basically done, and so now he's going to focus his attention on his family.
Yep.
Which he does. I mean,
Yeah.
he's trying to figure out how to what to do, and winds up
Getting some
calling
help.
in some favors.
Yeah.
Calling in favors for his family,
Mm-hmm.
to get help with the boat, and that's where Bucky shows up.
Yep.
In classic Bucky fashion.
Which, fun fact, Bucky is a very capable mechanic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have a robot arm, and tell me that you don't need to know how to do field repair on your
right.
that.
Well, I mean, even beyond that, like, while Bucky's helping Sam fix the boat, like, Sam's like referencing manuals and how-to guides, and Bucky's like, no, you just do this, this, and this.
Well, you also have to remember where Bucky grew. I mean, Bucky grew up in the Bronx in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, when you have
on the streets.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, like, even like real world people from like that generation are right around there. Like, okay, like my granddad, you knew him. Mm-hmm. He could fix any engine you threw at him. He just knew how to do it.
Yeah.
But like people of our generation, for the most part, if something's wrong with my car, I take it to a mechanic.
Oh yeah, I couldn't tell you what a carburetor looks like.
I mean, I think it's round. I think. Yeah. This is not a car podcast, all right? I mean, I know where the wheels are.
Right. I know the bare minimum of like car maintenance. I can change my own brakes.
Yep.
I can change my own oil. I can change spark plugs, and I know where to put washer fluid in.
Yeah.
Like windshield washer fluid.
Not in the antifreeze tank.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, it's interesting to see that kind of difference between those two. Of Sam's grown up in a very information-driven world. Bucky grew up in you were taught by hand. You were taught oral traditions on how to do these kind of things. So Bucky probably grew up, knowing, all right, well here's how you fix this. Here's how you do that. Very very hands-on kind of time. But, yeah, you get that really neat montage of them fixing up the boat, getting everything at least back into some semblance of order.
Even Bucky had a montage.
Exactly. You get a boat fixing montage, which is not a phrase I ever thought I would say, especially not in reference to a Marvel film. But, yeah, it was just kind of a fun, feel-good scene, and there's a lot of... Sam's sister, you can definitely tell she thinks Bucky is very pretty. And Sam flat out tells him, don't make it weird with my sister, dude. And
don't flirt with my sister.
Yeah, don't flirt. And of course, what does Bucky do? Flirts with his sister. Don't flirt with my sister. Immediately flirts with his sister, just because he knows it gets a rise out of Sam. It's a fun. And that's just a fun scene.
That's part of the fun interplay between those two characters. Yeah. Is they're growing closer, so the needling of each other, which started off as being malicious almost, or I don't want to say malicious, but in like purposely to piss each other off.
Right.
Like the needling now is in fun.
Yeah.
Rather than that, and so like you see both of them developing a friendship, and I think it lends itself to Bucky's character growth as as his part of his recovery.
Well,
like
it
being able to
for Bucky, it definitely goes a long way because, I mean, for years, Steve was his best friend, and after the events of Endgame, any other friends that Bucky may have had by that point had long since died. That was literally his only friend, and I mean, you kind of see, and I feel this is a scene we should have touched on earlier. You see earlier in the series, Bucky has befriended this older Asian man. And, like, you're not really given a whole lot of reason of why he's friends with them at that point. But you see that, he's... Well, I mean, it's because he's of the same age group as Bucky, whether, Bucky doesn't look it. But they're the same kind of... Well, I think Bucky's older than him. By quite a bit, actually, at that point. But anyway, Bucky doesn't have any other friends. I mean, it's kind of... I didn't realize that until right around this point in the series that he doesn't have that buddy that he can call up and go, dude, I'm having a really rough day. He doesn't have that friend that he can fall back on anymore. Because Steve, they allude heavily in the series that Steve is gone. Captain America is gone, but they never directly say that Steve passed away.
Yeah.
But the show definitely leans very heavily on that. Because you think, I mean, even if it was like an off-screen, audio-only cameo, that Bucky or Sam could have called up Cap and said, "Hey, dude, look, what would you do?" But they allude, they strongly imply, in my opinion, that Cap has passed away. But they don't directly say it. They don't show like them visiting a gravestone. But yeah, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're correct. They don't. They very much imply it, and it could be one of those things where it's supposed to be ambiguous, like as to where Steve is. Maybe that was Steve's request. Was that just like I don't like I want to be like I don't have much time left. I just want to be left. I want to be left alone to finish out my days in peace. Like I don't want to be involved in this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a possibility. And Endgame doesn't end with Steve's death or anything like that, so you don't know. Like he's an old man, but.
Well, don't they make reference in there that there's a rumor that Captain America is secretly living on the moon or some stuff like that?
Yes, somebody says that, which is more the crap.
Immortals or the
Inhumans.
Inhumans. Yes. Yep.
Yes, the Inhumans live up there
because they literally live on the blue spot of the moon.
Correct.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, there's there's a lot of character growth, and there's a lot of
it's a feel-good section,
Yeah,
which things got pretty heavy there for a while. So I think the show kind of needed to pump the brakes a second, and bring everybody back from all the crap that just got thrown on us.
Right, and the other thing being is that like there's still stuff going on.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Like the Flag Smashers are still out there, and in point of fact, they actually raid a GRC facility, and
oh yeah, I remember this scene.
Steal a bunch of supplies, and then actually they blow it up. Or
Carly blows it up.
Carly blows it up, but the other Flag Smashers don't realize that she's going to, and of course it winds up killing people, and so, it becomes a much bigger deal now.
Yeah, because before that, like if somebody got in their way. They might have to kill, but they were like, I don't want to say, I mean, they were civilians, effectively, who were working there, doctors and nurses, things like that.
And they even make mention...
she just blows the whole building up.
Yeah, they even make mention in the news broadcast that one of the people killed was a father of two that had only been working there for a week.
Yeah.
So it's real, and that was obviously a very pointed decision to do that. They wanted to make it real that this has happened.
Yeah. And like you said, the other Flag Smashers don't seem too sure about the decision of their leader.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of actually a catalyst that gets Sam to move to the next phase of things. So what Bucky, at this point, Bucky is leaving town, and he has left Sam a cybernetic case, I guess.
He calls in, I think, one last favor from Wakanda.
Right. He calls in a favor from Wakanda, and Sam actually takes up the shield, and you see him training with the shield, like in the episode, like does a lot of training with it.
Yeah. Or was that at the beginning of the next episode?
It's kind of both, because Bucky doesn't leave. Bucky doesn't leave until towards the end of the episode, but he does some training with Sam because they're throwing the shield back and forth, almost like a game of like dodgeball or catch or something.
Right. Yeah.
So they're like passing the shield, like they're throwing it against trees and stuff.
Yeah.
And passing
it's
the
like
shield
they're throwing a football around,
Yeah, exactly. It's a much more dangerous football, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
I think that episode basically wraps up. There's a couple of additional scenes. You see Sharon, who is again back in the scene, make a phone call to hire somebody, and then you also see Walker, who is now back at home, and he's building his own Captain America shield.
Yeah.
You can kind of see where this is going.
Yep.
Anyway, next episode,
Well,
last episode.
The episode ends with Sam opening up the case that Bucky left for him, but you don't see what's in it.
Right.
Which, I mean, like, Marvel, you know how to cap off episodes. Let me just tell you that. You know how to make people go, what the hell?
God damn it, Marvel.
Because had it been 5 seconds longer, like there's so many of all their Marvel shows, there's so many episodes of had they been 5 seconds longer, you would have given us what we wanted. But you know how to make us come back for the next week.
Yeah, exactly. So the next episode is the final episode of the series, the limited series.
Yep.
And it sees basically the Flag Smashers attacking a GRC summit to try to get them to stop a controversial vote. And what this controversial vote basically is the governments associated with the GRC are voting to remove all the refugees from their countries. Basically, they send them back to their home country.
From whence they came.
Right. And they're going to do it via military force. Yep. Apparently they have a ton of troops that are just literally everywhere that are going to just pick up people and move them.
Yep.
So,
which is no bueno.
Yeah, no bueno. So we see the Flag Smashers making an attempt on this, and Sam finds out about it and dons his new suit, which was provided by Bucky, and he heads to New York, where he meets up with Bucky and Sharon, who is there to help. Sam has called in a favor, as he even says, and Sharon is there to help them out. We also see the return of a villain we haven't mentioned before, Batroc. Who is actually in the first episode. He's actually the first protagonist or antagonist of the series. Sam is chasing him down to stop a weapons deal. It's a guy named Batroc. And you see him come back as he is helping the Flag Smashers. He was hired by the Power Broker to help the Flag Smashers.
Yep. Now, okay, Batroc is one of my favorite Marvel glow-ups. Because, like, in the comics, he is such a joke character. But, like, because of the way they portrayed him in the films, he's become more of a fan-favorite villain. And they've even kind of, like, adjusted him in the comics a bit from, like, he's still kind of a fun character. But they've realized that, if we just take away one part of this character, we actually make him a lot better. And so it's fun for me to see, you know, like, I mean, even before Captain America Winter Soldier, Batroc was pretty much an unknown. Like, people had seen him in, like, some of the Avengers cartoons, and they did a very good job of making him a goofy one-off character, but when you put him in the films, that subtle change made him such a good character. I'm glad that he is one of the few Marvel villains that they haven't just killed off in a feature film. I'm glad he's been able to keep coming back.
Yeah, and it's an ideology difference, obviously, between a cartoon and a TV show and like a movie. You can't really kill people off in cartoon shows, at least stuff that's targeted for kids.
Right.
Or at least it becomes much more poignant, and you have to be really careful with how you execute it, especially
how you execute it and how you word it.
Right. So the part of it is, you know, the Marvel movies. I mean, most superhero movies are notorious for killing off their antagonists.
Yeah. It's not just Marvel.
Yeah, it's not just Marvel, but just most movies and TV shows that are adapted from some kind of source material are notorious for actually killing off those characters.
Yeah.
Whereas they're like reoccurring in, you know, comics or books and things like that, just because it is a limited thing, so you have to have some kind of finality to that conflict, to that character. So I mean, they just wind up killing them off.
Right.
One example that I can think of is Crossbones.
Yeah.
Like,
they made a big point to bring him back just to have him die like 5 minutes later.
Yeah, like he's in Avengers 2, right?
Age of Ultron, yep.
Yeah, Age of Ultron. He's in Age of Ultron for like all of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he gets murked.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's sad because Crossbones was a reoccurring captain. I believe he was Captain America.
Captain America or Avengers. I mean, but he was a
Yeah.
reoccurring villain, and like they introduced him and then brought him back, and then yeah, like Ian said, he died 10 minutes later, and it's like, so that's what that payoff of introducing the character, you know, in the last film, that was your payoff.
Right.
But,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
anyway,
So,
but yeah, Batroc comes back. Like Ian said, he was hired by the Power Broker. So the
yeah,
Power
so
Broker's making a play here.
yeah, the Power Broker's making a play here. She want they want the this, or you know, they want to basically get some finality to the whole thing with Carly.
Yep.
Since Carly stole her serum and whatnot. So it's one of those things where there's a, you know, the Flag Smashers have made their play.
Yep.
They have, you know, they have a whole scheme planned out. They wind up kidnapping the representatives of the GRC, and that's where, you know, Sam and Bucky and Sharon come in trying to rescue them.
Yep.
Bucky gives chase on a motorcycle. Sam gives chase in the sky.
Yep.
As new Captain America.
Which I will say that new costume looks almost identical to how it looks in the comics. Like that so far has probably been one of my favorite costumes, just because it was so. They did a phenomenal job of transferring that from paper to screen. I mean, kudos to the costume designers at Marvel for doing such a phenomenal job on that suit. It looks great. Sam looks great in it. Anthony Mackie, looks great in it. Phenomenal job. I was very, very happy with that.
Yep. So, a conflict ensues, and Sam winds up going after Carly. But actually, before that, Walker shows back up, dressed as Captain America with his own homemade shield.
Yep. I made it myself.
Basically looking for revenge.
Yeah.
Against Carly for killing Lamar, and so there's a fight that ensues, and Carly basically uses the hostages as leverage to escape. But this is where Walker shows a little bit of character redemption in that he winds up saving the hostages rather than going after Carly.
Right.
So, or at least working to help save the hostages rather than going after Carly.
Yep.
And Sam goes after Carly and tries to confront her, but before Sam runs into her, Sharon runs into her.
Yep.
With Batroc, and this is where you find out that, surprise, surprise, you could see it a mile away,
right,
which is one of my criticisms of the show.
Batroc's the Power Broker.
No.
Oh.
It's Sharon.
Yeah.
Like, again, you could see it coming from a mile away. You pretty much saw it coming from like the end of the episode where Sharon was introduced.
Yep.
Like, it's
which
very obvious.
Yeah, which goes back to our prior point. Zemo was aware of the Power Broker. Mm-hmm. As far as we know, Sharon didn't start doing the Power Broker thing until after Civil War, after she had to run away. So either one of two things. Either one, Zemo had some connections on the inside to let him know about Underworld stuff going on, or two, Sharon's been doing the Power Broker thing a lot longer than what we think she was. Or three. What's three?
I think there's a third option here, which actually goes into play of something from the Mass Effect series.
Okay.
There is a character known as the Shadow Broker. They're an information broker.
Right.
Mass Effect did it first. So anyway. They're an information broker. You wind up in the second confronting them, actually finding like who they are, confronting them, killing them, and then Liara takes over as the Shadow Broker. But from the world stage, no one knows that power has changed hands.
Oh, that would make sense. So maybe it's a title.
Yeah.
And people
so
just
it's potentially
okay. It could be that too.
It's potentially a title that Sharon has usurped
Yep. Well, I know
from someone else.
you and I actually talked off the air about this, think yesterday, about the theory that Sharon is a Skrull, and that it's part of setting up the inevitable Secret Wars movie.
Right.
Yep.
And we can come back and touch on that. So basically, the episode, uh, Sharon and Carly confront each other. Then Sam comes in and tries to talk Carly down, but
Yep.
Sharon ultimately shoots and kills her.
Yep.
Kills Carly, which obviously it was a calculated thing that she did
Yep.
because again she doesn't want to be revealed as the
Power
power
broker. Yep.
And so yeah. Short of it, the rest of the Flag Smashers are caught. However, they wind up being killed by Zemo's butler, Osnick.
Yep.
Because again, they represent Zemo's, the opposition to Zemo's ideology.
Yep.
Kills them with a car bomb, by the way. So if anyone is curious, so there's no more super soldiers. They're all dead with the exception of Walker.
Yep.
Walker's the only one left. Walker is then semi-redeemed or reassigned, I guess we could say.
Yeah, reassigned. Unofficially reassigned is kind of how I took it. I think I took it as this is very much an off the books kind of thing.
Correct. So basically, it seems like he's getting folded into a Black Ops group, and he is given a new uniform, which is just his old one, but black, because they even make that comment. And he's given a new code name, which is U.S. Agent. U.S. Agent was actually a character in the Marvel Comics.
Yep.
It's John Walker.
Like
John Walker is the U.S. Agent. So, he represents this other the other Captain America type thing.
Yep.
West Coast Avengers, just a secondary, another character. So I'm sure that's setting up an appearance later on from him somewhere else.
Yep.
So I think that's the majority of the salient points, with the exception of the end credit scene where Sharon is pardoned, and she's offered her old position back at the CIA, and she makes a phone call basically saying, hey, we're going to have a lot more access to information, start getting buyers ready. So, it's very much a Sharon, the evil Sharon thing. So, I don't know that we really need to go much more on that episode.
I mean, that kind of wraps that episode up, honestly.
Right. So, now we're going to come into some of the stuff that we were holding back a little bit in preparation for this. So, a few things on character development. Like I had mentioned at the beginning of the show, I had some criticisms on character development. One, I felt like the one thing that really kind of strikes me as odd is the whole Sharon being malicious thing just seems really out there for her character.
Right.
Like I get that she was that she was branded a traitor, exiled effectively. She's an international criminal and whatnot, but to have her go from this, I wouldn't say goody two-shoes, but, secret agent, trying to do the right thing, obviously the granddaughter of Peggy Carter.
Yep.
To being this, the power broker and wanting to, topple governments and stuff like that, seems so out of character for her. And it just felt like such a disservice to her. Which is why I put forth the theory that she's potentially a Skrull.
Right.
Because it feels so wrong for her character to develop that much maliciousness in such a short amount of time.
Now, that's one that Skrull theory aside, if we take it that the Skrull theory is not a thing, I could kind of almost see it, because, I mean, she, like you said, went from being this, upstanding, do the right thing government agent to being told that, she's labeled a war criminal for helping, let's call it how it is, her aunt's special friend, doing what she thought was right, siding with the guy that she thought was right, and turning into a war criminal. That can do some serious jading on people.
Right.
Now, like, would I have liked to have seen a little bit more about how she became the power broker? Yes. But I feel like Marvel purposely left that open ended because, like you said, Marvel plays the long game. They already know, they knew from the second they decided to make her the power broker how they were going to get to that point and what they were going to do with her afterwards. They're just filling in the gaps that we don't know, but they do. So I do personally think the scroll theory makes the most sense, but at the same time, throwing that out the window, I could see her getting jaded based on what's happened to her. So
Yeah, I can too. It just feels so.
off.
And again, it feels so off. And again, they didn't do anything really to hide that she was the
Right.
power. I keep wanting to say shadow broker. She was the power broker. Like
Yeah.
the big reveal wasn't that big because you
Right.
knew about, like, you could figure it out 3 episodes prior.
Right.
So it didn't really feel like, I don't know. With the way that Marvel writes and does their shows, it feels like there has to be more at work here that they
Yeah.
were not. They did not do as much to hide that.
I agree. I feel like that they have a reason for doing what they did with her. We just don't know that reasoning yet.
Yeah, and then obviously, again, I loved Zemo. I thought his character was very well developed,
Oh,
and
absolutely,
I'm looking forward to seeing him in the future. Maybe we'll see him as part of the Thunderbolts,
Right.
because he was a member of the Thunderbolts for a little while. But he's just such a nuanced and interesting character, and I just
Yes.
love the way that he is portrayed. And admittedly, like, I didn't really know that much about Zemo before his first appearance in the MCU. Like, I knew of him,
Yeah.
but I didn't really follow him too much. But they just played this character so well.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. He
Yeah,
was
but
definitely one of the high points of the show.
Yes, including dancing Zemo.
Which there are two memes that the two major memes that this show spawned, and both of them involve Zemo.
Yes.
There's dancing Zemo, and there's the he's out of line, but he's right.
Right. Right, exactly. And for those of you that don't know the dancing Zemo thing, it is a 2-second clip or something
Yeah.
like that in the show of Zemo, like, dancing in a nightclub.
Yep.
Like, just doing a quick shuffle, and Marvel themselves took the clip and just looped it for an hour and
Yep.
put it out on YouTube.
Yep.
And so it became the dancing Zemo meme.
Yep.
Which again was fantastic. But
Oh, yeah.
anyway, so character-wise, I thought the character development was just so great.
Mhm.
The show does an amazing job of really, developing these characters, and for the most part, and then yeah, it's just over. It was a fantastic show. I'd
Oh, yeah.
probably give it 8.5 out of 10.
I'd say it's an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it did a great job. I felt like it could have potentially been a couple more episodes,
Yeah.
but I don't feel underwhelmed, and I don't feel whelmed.
Right.
I'm, I really enjoyed the show. I felt like it ended well.
Mhm.
It could have gone longer.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
You're not upset
not-
that it didn't.
Yeah. No,
See,
it was
it's the same
fantastic.
thing. Like when Disney Plus first announced their slew of Marvel original shows, this was the one that I was probably least interested in watching. I was still going to watch it, and obviously I did, but it was the one that was kind of like, if I don't see it right away, whatever. But as I watched the premiere episode, and then I proceeded to watch every episode the day it came out because I thoroughly ended up enjoying it. I mean, Bucky, like, I liked Bucky as a character. Falcon, like, he was never really one of my favorite Avengers, but, like, building up the show the way they did, I knew that Captain America reveal was going to happen. And that was one of my favorite arcs, was when Sam became Captain America. So I was excited to see how they were going to bring that to the big screen. And yeah, same with Ian. A solid 8.5 out of 10. Very similar thoughts. I would have liked to have seen maybe 1 to 2 more episodes. The ending did feel a little rushed almost, like they were trying to wrap up everything all at once. But apart from that, absolutely, I'd recommend it to anybody that's interested. If you haven't already seen it, definitely go out and watch it. Obviously, the entire series is out. It's finished a while back now at this point, so you can binge it. And yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. If you are a comics fan, I think you'll definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, and there's definitely a nod in the series to where it ended at, because the ending credits change from
Yes.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Yep,
It would
acknowledging
have been
that
better.
yes, this is Cap.
Right. It would have been better had it changed to like Captain America and White Wolf and the White Wolf or something
Right.
like that. But again, I think that was more of a throwaway joke, and I'm
Yep.
sure they'll figure out something to do with Bucky
Oh yeah.
in the future. But
Yep.
no, all in all, fantastic show. I'm sorry it took me so long to watch it. Just other things and
Right.
priorities and anime and all that other stuff.
You got to it eventually, and that's what matters.
Correct, and I'm working on Loki.
Thank you.
We will see how this weekend goes and if I can get through more of it. I watched 2 episodes today. It's a 6-episode series, so I will try to watch that.
You're already a third of the way through, so you just power through it, buddy.
Exactly. I just have to find 4 hours to do it. Anyway, but I think that's going to take care of our review of Captain America and the Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yep.
Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier, show me your moves.
Captain Falcon and the American Winter Soldier?
I don't know.
Oh.
Anyway.
Yeah. It was a great show.
Yep. So I think that'll go ahead and wrap us up for the night. We apologize for running a little bit long, but this is how our review shows go.
Yep.
Our review episodes go. Feel free to, obviously, if you see them in the future, find a nice breaking point, take a pause it, move on with your lives, come back and finish up watching.
Or listen to this one first, which will prep you for our almost 3-hour review of Mandalorian, which is also available for your listening pleasure. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. So, anyway, thank you again for joining us.
Plug. I can't sing the actual song. I don't want to get a copyright strike.
That's true. So, again, thank you for joining us. As always, appreciate you. You can catch us on all of your favorite podcast platforms. We are hosted on Anchor.fm, and we are also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and about 5 or 6 others that I can never remember what they are, so sorry.
You never can.
Right. Social media-wise, you can find us on Twitter at NonSequiturNerd, and you can also find us on Facebook, because that is where we are the most active. We have a website, but just ignore it at this point.
Yeah, it's just...
We do.
We do, too. I mean, now, if this was the 90s, we'd have some cool Flash games for you to play on there, but...
like Candy Stand or something like that.
Right.
Probably a link to, like, Joe Cartoon.
Oh,
or,
my God. We could do an entire episode on old websites, but we're gonna cap it off there for tonight, folks.
Yeah, exactly. So again, thank you very much. We hope to catch you next time. So for Non Sequitur Nerds, I'm Ian,
and I'm the Winter Soldier. I mean Tim. Good night, everybody.
Good night.